It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Hey, welcome back to another Real Estate Breakfast podcast, talking all about your property news and information, of course. We do that from Catherine to Bathurst, and good morning wherever you might be listening. If you'd like to send us an email with regard to your property journey, you can do that. Our email address is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. Well, it is a Wednesday, middle of the working week, pretty rapid to get here. April the 30th. Now, ahead of next month's RBA rate decision, 8 more banks have slashed interest rates. Aussie Home Loans led with a 50 basis points cut, while Bank Australia now offers the lowest green home fixed rate at 4.94%. Macquarie reclaimed the market's lowest general fixed rate at 5.19%. And CanStar reports that 18 banks have dropped at least one fixed rate this month. That is signalling, of course, growing confidence that the broader RBA rate cut is on the horizon, and we don't have very long to wait for the next RBA cut, if that is likely to happen. Well, let's catch up right now with Shaun Groves. Let's go to WA. He is in Rockingham from Elders. And good morning to you, Shaun. Welcome to the Real Estate Breakfast. As I say, you're in Rockingham. It is a very popular suburb at the moment. How long have you been representing the area in real estate? Because I do note that you've come from South Africa.
I did, mate. Yes, I've been in Rockingham for about 6 years now.
And you were saying that the grassroots of you learning real estate was back in South Africa.
It was, yeah. I spent a number of years with different organisations there, one of which was Sotheby's International Realty, the rather famous English auction house, and then, immigrated to Australia.
Tell us a little bit about how you wound up in Rockingham and how things have been going for you in 2025.
Yeah, 2025 has been great, and I think 2024 was the same. I ended up here by way of, I guess, the same reason why most people probably head this way is affordability. It certainly was, and still is, very, very affordable. It's the lifestyle. The beaches are amazing. We probably got one of the very few north-facing beaches in WA. So, yeah, all those reasons.
Yes, and when you look at Rockingham's appeal, that coastal lifestyle is very much up there. Affordability, as you've mentioned, compared to inner city suburbs and the proximity to employment hubs. Now, your suburb's growth has outpaced Perth's average, with house prices increasing at nearly twice the city's rate over the past 5 years. I mean, that is such a big number.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think probably reasons for that is, as I said earlier, affordability. I'm at the coalface of what's happening here. So I know a lot of my buyers and where they're coming from. And they're coming from more traditional, more expensive suburbs around Perth. So examples of that would be Applecross and Como coming down here by way of seeing a lot of value. And then there's a lot of other economic stimulus as well. There's, AUKUS, Latitude 32, which is the new industrial zone. So there's a lot of stimuli happening.
And when you talk about AUKUS, how many people have you been transacting with where they've got the jobs, that's all part of their gig? Is there much of that you're directly talking with?
Absolutely. Yeah, look, Defence are in desperate need of housing, and the reality is we don't have enough housing here. I had a recent development about a year ago where we had 4 units that we were going to bring to market. Defence walked in and bought all of them. I think, as far as I'm aware, they're also going to be heading towards Baldivis because it's the only area where they can effectively find accommodation. So, yeah.
All right, let's have a look at the house median price. At the moment in Rockingham, we've got that sitting at 675,000 and change over the past 12 months. Gee, big jump, 20.6%. Rental yield, 4.6%. Days on market, 24. So quite a bit of uptake in the last 12 months. If you're wondering what the median price for a unit is in Rockingham, let's have a look at the number. 432,500 is the number. That is up 13.1%. The rental yield at 5.5 and days on market at 29 days. What's the difference at the moment between those two markets, between the houses and the units in terms of interest?
I would say a year ago, it was certainly far more slanted towards houses, but that's changed dramatically in the last year. Anywhere from units on the Rockingham foreshore that can go up to sort of $1.5 million just to entry-level units. There's an appetite for those at the moment. Just to elaborate on that a little bit, I mean, just in terms of that growth as well, I can give you examples where 2-3 years ago I was selling units for $200,000, and now those same units, which are older 1970s strata units, are now exchanging hands at $450,000. So percentage-wise, you're 100% up.
Yeah, that is quite a big jump, no doubt about it. Just coming back to the AUKUS deal, I mean, how much nervousness have you heard because of all the shenanigans coming out of the White House and with Trump trying to blow up the world economy, it seems? Is there much feedback that you're getting, nervousness from people?
Yes and no. I mean, I think everybody, before the change in the American administration, everybody was far more comfortable with, the trajectory that we were on and when it would be happening. Right now, I think there probably is a bit of, nervous energy. The rotational forces, as far as I'm aware, from the US and the UK, we're supposed to be arriving from 2027. So, yeah, speaking to the people in the know and certainly the contacts that I have, everybody is very confident that AUKUS is happening and will still be happening, and there's nobody saying anything to the contrary at this stage.
And that is Shaun Groves there in Rockingham. We'll come back after this with more.
Let's fuel your passion for property together. Join us, along with our industry experts, to help inspire and inform your next real estate decision.
The question I got for you, though, is, how do you counter that in the Brisbane market? Because it's almost impossible, but you've got the loyalty factor. You've got the job market where people will just say, no, I'm not moving. I'm going to stay here because my job, my family are here. And then on the other side, you do have these people that are moving, but very difficult to sort of counter what is happening in Melbourne.
I guess countering probably isn't as common. To be quite frank, we've lost a lot of our investor market to Melbourne. I do feel a lot of those clients that were once investing up here in Brisbane, positive cash flow properties, are now looking at Melbourne as an option. However, I'm not seeing too many families or first home owners that have really been brought up in this area look to relocate. So I guess those that have born and bred in Brisbane, they really love the location, the area. They can see the growth factor there with the Olympics coming. It is something that's a challenge to get into, but there is a lot of still potential for our market, whilst, upping and leaving and moving into state's quite a daunting factor. Probably something that investors are not opposed to in comparison to someone that's really had their life here in Brizzy.
And right now it is time for another property tip. And somebody that we recently caught up with was Graham Cook from Finder.com. And good morning to you, Graham. You've got a property tip for everybody this morning.
Good morning, Craig. I do. Everybody's waiting for that next RBA cash rate cut. It seems to be the only question we get at Finder. When is that cash rate cut going to happen? If it does happen, it's probably going to be 25 basis points. So my tip here is when we look at the average rate in the market that most people are paying on their home loans and the lowest rate on the market, the difference there is about 25 basis points. So rather than waiting for the next cash rate cut, if you look at refinancing your home loan, you could give yourself one cash rate cut before the next one comes along. So it's worth having a look at refinancing.
Each week, we bring you in-depth real estate discussions, including inspiring stories from homeowners, knowledgeable real estate professionals and economists. Whether you're a buyer, seller, or just a real estate enthusiast, we are your ultimate property podcast.
And it's a Real Estate Wednesday. We are talking to Shaun Groves from Elders there in WA. Now, the demographics are changing a little bit where you are. I note that there are people that are moving into the area from, well, shall we say, some more established areas, and the reason that they're doing that is for the value. Talk to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that trend has been happening quite dramatically and getting stronger and stronger over the last 2 years. So again, being cold-faced and, we're knowing the buyers where they're coming from, and certainly our advertising has started to shift to these more established areas, you could say, or at least certainly closer to the city. And I used the examples of Como and Applecross, whereby they're coming down Rockingham, Shoalwater, Safety Bay, Waikiki, because they can get great value. They can get into a green title, generous size block or home on a good size block, a couple of 100 meters from the beach and the boat ramp. They have side access. They can keep a boat and a caravan, so it's lifestyle. And they can do all of that for, in some cases, less than $1 million or just over $1 million. So it still represents very good value compared to those other suburbs.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up there, Shaun. Great to talk to you on a Wednesday morning there in Rockingham. It's certainly an area that we have covered. We've spoken about with Matthew in Perth quite a bit, and that just sort of goes to show and highlight why these prices, the median house prices and those units, are definitely moving upwards. And thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning.
You're welcome, mate. Been an absolute pleasure.
Remember, we are not a real estate company. We are 100% all about increasing your awareness and knowledge for buying and selling properties.
And for the building industry, that certainly higher costs for appliances. There are other things that you can source from the U.S. in terms of negotiating with Canada for lumber, and now they've opened up all sorts of forests here in the U.S., but that doesn't mean it's the right kind of wood for housing that you use in the U.S.
You've got this cohort of first-time buyers. They were voting with good intentions that they thought the economy was going to improve. They wanted to get into their first home. In many cases, people, Patrick, are just trying to survive from week to week.
Yeah, you raise a good point. I think the share of first-time buyers took a few percentage decline in March, and I think the Fannie Mae, which is a big purchaser of loans, does a monthly survey, and only 22% of respondents think it's a good time to buy a home, but 64% think it's a good time to sell. But what are they going to do with that? Because they need to live somewhere.
We should look at this price gap between houses and units. As mentioned, it has now expanded more than fivefold over the past 2 decades.
Yeah, it's really topical here at the moment. And I think tacitly everybody knows it's been harder and harder to purchase a house. And people have been looking in different areas. But some recent data that's come out, the difference in price now between a typical unit and a house in Sydney is now an eye-watering $610,662. So houses at the end of December 2024 were 71% more expensive to buy than a unit.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.